each of the words, each of those 14 words and phrases are so unique. None of them, every one of them different from the other, but there's an overlying theme, like an umbrella over the whole thing. And that is that with love, there is complete freedom. When you realize that love is all you have to do, it is so freeing. When you are not trying to fix people, because that's not your job. Your job is just to love. Your job is not to judge, condemn. There's no room for racism. There's no room for discrimination. There's no room for thinking I'm better than anyone else in any way with love, with real love. So all you have to do is love.
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
Good day and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's show, I welcome Kim Sorrelle. Kim is an entrepreneur, director of humanitarian organization, popular speaker, author of 2 books, and a lover of all people. Her first book, Cry Until You Laugh, is about her breast cancer journey and her husband's battle with pancreatic cancer after being diagnosed just 4 months apart. Her second book, Love Is, chronicles her year-long quest to figure out the true meaning of love, a sometimes funny, sometimes scary, always enlightening journey that led to her life-changing discoveries found mostly on the streets of Haiti. Kim is a joyful, optimistic Midwestern girl with a splash of spice living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Kim. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on and share with us some of your life journey.
Dwight, I'm so happy to be here. I love your show. Everyone in the world should listen to your show. And so
I
thank you for
wish.
having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me your time. Like as we were talking about before we hit record button, time is a precious commodity, and so many people don't give it enough onus or enough appreciation, and I do. So thank you for your time. I look forward to our conversation, and yeah, just getting to know you better and our listeners getting to know you better, because bottom line, it's always in life better when we know things about people, and it's easier to know, like, and trust. And even if they never ever meet you, they can feel connected to you and have learned from you, because I know you have a lot of great information that you're going to be able to share. But one of the things I start off my show, and as a person that's listened to it, I honestly believe that we need to focus on somebody's origin, from Kim's earliest recollections from when you were just a little tyke to where you are today. There's different things that have happened within your life that have, impacted you, that have changed your course or direction or cemented your course or direction. And it helps people to connect to you if you could share some of those moments in your life. So could you please do me a favor, Kim, and share some of your, things that you've gone through, your key things from your childhood to adulthood to where you're at currently?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I had a great growing up experience living in a neighborhood, playing kickball all summer long, going home when the street lights came on, doing all the stuff that kids do, playing outside, actually playing outside. That's novel to some these days, it seems like. But I had a great childhood. I played 3 sports in high school, 3 basketball, volleyball, and softball. That certainly formed my life a lot, being a part of sports, being a part of a team, learning how to be a part of a team, learning how to win, learning how to lose is equally as important, if not even more so. And so those were big things. I went to a small high school. There were only 125 kids in my graduating class. And so you knew everybody in the school. And there weren't these cliques and things that you hear about at other schools. We just liked everybody. And it was just fun. And so I think that too, not ever being a part of a group, that separates people, because I just don't think anybody should ever be separated. And so then I got married young. I was going to be the first woman president of the United States. And I had my life laid out before me. And then this tall, dark, handsome man walked in the room. And my mom married a short man. So I needed to marry a tall man to give my kids a fighting chance. And he was 6'3" and good looking and happened to be kind and wonderful at the same time. And we started having kids a couple years later. So it's been a great life. I started my first business right out of high school, and I've been in business for all these years. And that's a big thing. A big life-changing thing was I lost my mom young. She committed suicide, and that's a whole different thing by itself. But it has enabled me to talk to people who are going through the same thing with a family member. And it's different connecting with someone who's been through something than someone who's never been through it, who might feel sympathy for you, but doesn't know what it really feels like. So that's most of my life, I guess.
Well, that's a lot. Like, you unpack that. I like the fact, you played until the lights came on. I remember being outside and all of a sudden you'd have that dusk, and then all of a sudden the street lights would turn on, and we'd pray that we get to play a little bit longer before we get, hear that distant holler time to come in. It's just like, damn.
That's
So
right.
I can connect with that. That's, and playing sports, I love what you said, learning how to win and lose, right? That is so important. There's so many people in life, we grow up and we have pattern behavior that is taught to us by our families and by the people that are surrounding us. And all they talk about is win, win, win. And if you lose at any sport, I can remember playing hockey and coming off onto the bench, and I was playing goalie, and and I've never even talked about this. The coach was a giant jerk, and he would just, you guys didn't win, and you should have stopped that goal, and blah 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 blah. And he wasn't good for a young kid's mind. He wasn't good for anybody. And the parents sat back, knew what he was like, and didn't do anything about it. Until one day I was tired of it and I said to my parents, I'm done. I'm quitting hockey. This isn't what I signed up for. I already have health issues. Grew up with severe asthmatic, no inhalers back then. And I basically said, this isn't worth it. I'm investing all of this. I'm sick for a day to 2 days after the hockey's over. I'm pouring my heart out and I'm not getting a good for you, good for trying hard. All I'm doing is getting puked on. The team's getting puked on and nobody's doing nothing. And by this time, my dad had tried a few times to go and talk to the coach, couldn't get through to him. And my dad was in our community at that time, would have been about 11,000 people. He was very well known businessman. He coached, he refed, he did everything. And the coach would acknowledge him, but still be the same jerk that he was. And I ended up quitting. I walked in. Can you imagine? I was a 12-year-old boy. I walked into this room at the beginning of the game, and I was supposed to be on the bench. I was the backup goalie for that game. And I handed him my jersey and I said, I quit. and the room was silent, and then they all started heckling me and all started making fun of me, and the coach started making fun of me. I just turned around, opened the door, and I walked out, and I never played hockey again.
Oh, that's so
Again.
sad. That's so sad.
But it's sad, but yet it was a defining moment in my life, right? It was a defining moment because I knew life wasn't all about winning. Life was about, are you trying? Are you making a difference? Are you happy? And I decided from that moment on that I'd never participate in anything or with anybody that all I ever heard come out of their mouth is, you must win. Now your goal could be to win, but your goal should, along the way of that goal, it should be, are you happy? Are you enjoying yourself? Does it bring a smile to your face? There's some trials and tribulations. Oh, that's sports or that's life, right? So I didn't tell you that story or share that with the listeners because it's sad what happened, the outcome, like the initial outcome, but the long-term outcome shaped me to who I am today. Our origins are so powerful. So when you brought that up, that was what got, it's strange what comes to mind when we hear people say things. And that's what
Mhm.
came to mind was that experience in my life. And you 125 kids in a grad class. We had like 185, so a little bit more, but it's true. It was small. There was clicks, unfortunately, and I was yearning at that moment when you said there was no clicks. I was just like, oh, why couldn't I had that? We had clicks, we had the jocks, we had the nerds, we had the beauty queens, and it was just it was what it was. I wouldn't go back to high school. I did learn a lot. Some of my that origin is again who I am. Um, I love that though. You don't want to marry short. I hope the listeners heard that because that's awesome. You're honest with yourself. You found a tall, strapping dude. Unfortunately, not everybody's privy to being able to find somebody that they just click with. So that's great. That's a great part of your origin. Being in business since you're high school, that doesn't happen very often either. So you're a tenacious person, and I've always liked being your own boss, controlling your own time, right?
Oh,
So
true. So
yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah. So what was your first business? Was it always what you're doing now, or what did it evolve into? So what did you start? What was your first stick at business?
Well, so my first business was uh my dad had lost his job, and I have two brothers that are almost exactly 1 year and 2 years older than me. And so we all graduated from high school at the same time, all going on to college at the same time. And my dad lost his job. And so trying to think of, what we could do, how we could make it work as a family, how we can contribute. So we ended up taking out a $50,000 loan, and we bought an old John Whitcomb furniture manufacturing building that had sat empty for a long time. And we leased space. So we leased warehouse and manufacturing space, office space. And so that building, we ended up buying another building and another building and another building and another building. And as time went on, we ended up with about 10 million square feet of space that we were leasing. A couple years into that, we I bought a piece of property that was a little 9-hole golf course with a little shack on the hill, and we turned it into 18 holes and added uh, fine dining, added banquet rooms, and I just sold that business this last March, actually. And so, and then just different things along the way we own, but that's how I got started in business.
Wow, that's quite the evolution from buying a business or buying a building, pardon me, because your dad lost his job to owning a 18-hole golf course. Like that's quite the journey. But obviously, it's been a great journey for you, and it taught you a lot. I hear that a lot, though. It's the people that have something, a trial that happens, that causes them to do one of two things. They either climb into a rabbit hole, or they decide, you know what, time to take on some risk and go and make an impact in the world and in our family. So kudos to you. That's quite the story. I enjoyed hearing about that.
Yeah,
So,
well, and my dad always was that way for sure. That's something that he instilled in us was the hard work. You work hard. You do things aren't handed to you. You know, you gotta take some risks sometimes. And risk can pay off.
oh yeah, and if it doesn't, for those listening, and you're going to be people that are going to say, "Well, I took this risk, it didn't pay off," and they quit.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes it pains me to listen to people in my finance business, and it's my 20th year of dealing with, individuals and businesses, entrepreneurs, and they quit just before their success. The success is around the corner, so they can't necessarily see it. But if they had just tried again, right? And
Mhm.
taking risk and failure is not a bad thing. People are so fearful of success, and they're fearful of failure, and it's just retraining our minds. Like, I teach people that fear stands for face everything and rise. It's just what you tell yourself. What are you doing when you get burdened by the fact of failure? Oh, I risked it, I failed. Nobody was an overnight success. It takes time. Some people are lucky in the sense that they have opportunity come to them, but that's where the luck stops. Why does it
Right.
stop there? Because they have to actually seize it and do something with it. So I don't believe in luck either. But bottom line, it's tenacity and hard work, and you were that way, and that's great. Your dad taught you that. My dad was the same way. Here's the necessities of life: a roof, food, and I love you. Now get to work. You're
Right.
12.
Right.
You're 12. You want something? Go deliver papers. Go do this. Go do that. Right? Don't
Mhm.
give me excuses. Give me results. Oh, it doesn't
Right.
work. Okay, it didn't work. What are you going to try now? All right. That's
So
the
were
way I
we
grew
raised
up.
in the same house and I just never
Uh,
saw you?
yeah,
'Cause that's what it sounds
that's
like.
that's the way my dad was. Right? He was a
Mhm.
very, very, very successful entrepreneur, and he just, yeah. You want something? Okay. Oh, you're 12 now. Okay, you're coming to work. Well, I want the summer off. Too bad. You're coming to work. You're coming to the business. You're working. You want some?
Yeah.
Oh, what? You think you deserve this? No, you get this. Well, I want this day off. Too bad. There's there's stuff that needs to be done. No, I don't want him to sound like he's a person that didn't. He'd also, if I needed a weekend off because there was something going on, he'd be pretty flexible. But he owned a farm equipment dealership, so it was pretty hard to have flexibility from spring till fall. He needed me there. It wasn't that he was being mean, it was that the reality was, this is the harvest. This is, feast or famine. This is the feast season, spring to fall, and I need you to be there. And I didn't, until I got older, I realized that he appreciated me because I would work. I would take care of stuff. He knew he could count on me. Whereas I was the young person going, well, all my friends are doing this. Right?
Right. Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So Kim, your first book, Cry Until You Laugh, is about your journey and fight against breast cancer, as well as your husband's battle with pancreatic cancer. Most would bury that pain and the trial and tribulations they've gone through and never write anything about it because it's so personal. It's so vulnerable what you're sharing. Writing a book, though, can be very cathartic. As I wrote my book, it helped me a lot through some of the trials and tribulations from in my origin. What was it like for you, pardon me, to write about something so personal?
Oh, it was therapeutic. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I've always been an open book. So I probably overshare, if anything, in the book. But I started writing really as a way to update family and friends. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, kind of thing. But it turned into much, much more than that. And before I knew it, 5,000 people were reading what I was writing because I was writing all along. I went to the bookstore as soon as I got that phone call that telling me I had breast cancer,
Mm.
and everything was either medical or scary. And I thought, I just want to know what it feels like. Like, what is it like to go through breast cancer? Do I have choices? Do I just listen to a doctor? What am I in for? What am I going to do? And so, yeah, so I started writing and found out, by the way, that there are some choices that you do have to make. And one of them for me was to remove one side or both, because I had cancer just in one side, which is typical. And I was sitting around the dinner table one night with my family, and I said, "Hi, I don't know what to do. What are you supposed to do?" And one of my sons said, "Mom, would you get new siding on just half the house?" And I went, "Oh, good point, son. Guess I'll get them both off then." There you go. So yeah,
Wow. That's a
right.
revelation from your son. I would never expected to hear that.
Me either, but it worked. No, it was a good decision. He he gave me great advice. So yeah, so I just was writing, and then writing through my husband's stomach pain that went undiagnosed for way too long, and then uh his diagnosis just 4 months after mine. And pancreatic cancer is the worst one. I mean, there's just kind of no hope with pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, and I can, those that are watching you, you know what I'm saying. I can feel I can hear your pain, but I can see it, feel it. And I wish I could say that I didn't understand, but I've had somebody close to me die from pancreatic cancer. I've seen the suffering they went through. I've had my grandma, who, God rest her soul, had breast cancer. I've had one of my first cousins had the same similar things. She had to think about that. I guess she didn't think about it the same way, but that siding thing, same thing. Had that, had both removed. So I feel your pain. Obviously, I don't know the journey you've been on. I can empathize and with it because of other people that have shared with me. So thank you for sharing. That is a very vulnerable time in your life, and obviously you survived um, that battle. Unfortunately, I believe your husband didn't. Right,
Right. And
as you were
right.
saying, um, that had to have been in the book itself. When you wrote that, was that the biggest savior for you, though, was you being able to share because of the loss of your husband? Like, how did it help you through that grieving process? Because I know a lot of people have a hard time grieving when they lose a significant other. Was the book something that was very like you said, it was cathartic, but was it that thing that you were looking for, or did you have people or things that you got involved in that helped you through that grieving process?
No, I definitely had, family, friends around. I had a support system, but definitely writing sure helped a lot. Just to get it out on paper, get what I was feeling down on paper. And that that I think was very, very helpful. But I think one of the things that was probably the turning point for me. So my husband died just 6 weeks after he was diagnosed. So much quicker than was expected. But we had a great 6 weeks together. We just had a great time together. And we were told probably a year. So 6 weeks was really fast, but it was merciful for him, because he didn't suffer, and that was our prayer, to be healed like the blind and the lame, or go to heaven. I believe in an afterlife. I believe in heaven, but don't let him suffer. And he didn't. He didn't until the very, very end, the last, not even probably hour of his life. And so, because he went quickly when he went, and which is also a blessing. Some people linger for days and days and days, and he didn't. He didn't suffer, and he didn't linger. He was in so much pain. I just whispered in his ear. I just said, "Baby, just go," and he did. That was it. He took his last breath, and so it was that fast. And even though I knew it was inevitable because of his diagnosis, um, being that fast was a shock. And so it was quite a time. And I was still going through my breast cancer stuff. And so it was an interesting time. But when I was ready to go back to work, I wasn't sure what I was going to do because I was in the nonprofit world. I had businesses. I didn't know if I was going to go back to my businesses. I had people running them. I didn't have to go back. They were doing fine. And so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I ended up running into a man who was running an organization that my father and I had started 10 years before, Rays of Hope International. And I ran into him between Christmas and New Year's. And I said, gosh, do you need any help with anything? Anything I can do? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, well, what about the books? And he said, oh, yeah, gosh, it'd be great if you did the books. And I said, well, sure. Then I thought, clean books, January 1st, I'd start with clean books. Well, 12 days later, there was an earthquake in Haiti that killed 200,000 people. And so I went from part-time bookkeeper to full-time, 7 days a week, all in. And within a couple weeks, I was in Haiti. And then I spent most of the next several years in Haiti. I was there for part of every month for the next several years. And service brings healing. I think when you get outside yourself and you can help other people, I think that for me, I think for a lot of people, that's where the healing begins.
Oh yeah, like there's a few nuggets that I got out of what you were just saying. So many people pray, and I believe in heaven. I pray, and I think about my life when I was younger, and I pray for people. God, don't take them away yet. They were, like you were saying, lingering, and they're suffering. Now I pray for God. What's your will? I don't pray to take them quicker. Leave them here. What's your will for them? What do you want for them, Lord? If that will to be done is that they, get healthy and live, great. If it's for you to take them, great. But, you leaning down and telling your husband that is very brave of you. I can't even imagine. Like, it just gives me, the solace of knowing that maybe someday I might have to be that person doing it to somebody. That will I have that strength? I think I will, because if you could have that strength, we all can. We can, instead of being selfish and wanting people to stay around, we can say, you know what, it's okay. You can go. I'll be good. I'll be okay. Obviously, after the fact, the journey of what you went through, and then going to Haiti and doing that work was, again, cathartic, like the book. Service to others helps us through our pain. I completely 100% agree. Most people don't understand that, why volunteering, why so many people will volunteer. Their goal in life isn't to become wealthy. I know people that are just, they're okay in life, and they spend majority of their waking hours outside of their careers or businesses volunteering, because for them it's service. It keeps them happy. So good for you for doing that. I can't imagine what it would have been like to be there, during an earthquake situation of supporting people. Is there anything specifically you would like to share in regards to your experiences in Haiti?
Yeah, well, I love Haiti. It's the toughest place I've ever worked in the world. I've worked in a lot of different countries, and Haiti is the toughest place, but the world has kind of made it that way. Unfortunately, there have been the United States in particular. We've done a lot of damage to Haiti. There are people that get rich off the backs of the poor, and get rich off of poverty, which I will never understand. No one can ever make me understand how that is, why people keep other people down, but it's what happens. And so we've done a lot of damage there, and it's a tough country. Politically, it's tough right now. It's really bad. Things are not good at all in Haiti, and those people need our prayers. And I always think, we like to put labels on people sometimes, right? And we're like, well, they're poor, or they're Haitian or they're whatever label you want to put on people. But people are people all over the world. And people that are living in Haiti that are Haitian, they're wonderful people in a really crappy situation, in just a really tough situation in a tough country. But people like to think, or I've heard people say before that if they're poor, it's because they're lazy. And poverty and lazy do not go hand in hand. Poverty and opportunity is what goes hand in hand. And in Haiti, there is a definite lack of opportunity.
Well, and you mentioned the US. Canada's, done their own fair share of being supportive and non-supportive when it's convenient, and it's always politically driven. And I've been to many poor places in the world, never been to Haiti, but I remember spending time in the Middle East. I was in Israel for a period of time and then in Jordan, and looking how the difference between the wealthy there and the poor, and how everybody's riding on the backs of that. And you look at it on a global scale between, China and India and all these different countries, Russia, that it's always on the, you look at the oligarchs in Russia on the backs of all their poor people. Everybody's, obviously very sensitive because of the Russia Ukraine fiasco that's going on right now. But guess what? Not everybody in Russia is to blame. There's so many poor people there. They've been suffering through that my whole life in Russia. We have some family ties back to Russia, so it's kind of a sensitive situation to even communicate with, with my father. Even though our ancestry is German from Europe, they ended up in Russia, right? And Russians, the people there don't want what's going on. It's all politically driven. Ukraine doesn't deserve to go what's going on, but everybody turns a blind eye, and they forget about all the people that are starving in the streets and don't have food, don't have clean water. And I wake up in the morning, and I literally did it this morning. I have a gratefulness. I talk to God and I thank him for being able to stand up to I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm thinking, thanks, Lord. A lot of people can't do this today in the world. Thank you for letting me do this. Oh, wow. I got running water when I turn this tap on. Like you said, like poverty needs opportunity. Those are the things that need to happen. And we as civilized societies need to step up and do more, not allow corporations or people to get wealthy off the backs of the poor people and keep them downtrodden. It breaks my heart, but we could go on and on about this. I really appreciate you sharing that stories though, and the vulnerability of what you've experienced in Haiti.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
One of the things that bothers me, but I don't know how to fix it or what steps to even take to try to fix it, is so many of our clothes are manufactured in other places, Haiti being one of the places. Well, in Haiti, people make $5, $7 a day working 10 hours, working a 10-hour shift. And that's a really good job in Haiti because there are so few jobs that having a job is a good thing. But they're making such little money, right? And that's not enough money to support a family. That's not enough money to live. I mean, you've got to everybody has the same basic needs. We all need to eat. We all need clean water. We all need clothes. We all need a roof over our heads, right? We all have the same basic needs. And $5, $7 a day, that doesn't cover anything when gas is outrageous. Although, if you're making that kind of money, you don't have a car. But a gallon of milk is $7 in Haiti or $8. And so a whole day's wages to buy a gallon of milk. I mean, doesn't that seem insane? And they're doing it so that I can have a full closet of clothes. So that I can have, instead of going to Walmart and buying one t-shirt for $20, I can buy 6 t-shirts for $20 because they're made in a place where people aren't getting paid. And we don't, I don't, I just, that just so bothers me. But it's hard because if you don't buy the 6 t-shirts, then people don't have a job, right?
Locally, yeah.
But if you do buy the 6 t-shirts, then they're going to continue and continue and continue to pay little money to people so that we can have more.
But
So what do you do about that?
aren't we, well, it's a great question because we become a society, US, Canada, Europe, where we're indebted to different nations such as, not even China, Haiti, but China, which manufactures so much of what the US and Canada have. And I look at something as simple as people can research, just look up the Walmart effect. The Walmart effect is something that the US government tracks in real time what Walmart does, because 65% of the goods and services, could be higher now, I haven't looked in a couple of years, come out of China. Well, China is a third world country. India is a third world country. Bangladesh, all these companies, like I look at shirts and I look at the label that you're talking about things being manufactured, and it breaks my heart. And I constantly think to myself, what can I do to make a difference? Well, I try to look at stuff that is manufactured in North America. It's not, because guess what? You wouldn't be able to buy one t-shirt for 20 bucks then. It'd be more like $100, and you wouldn't be getting 6 of them. So people have become very entitled. They want what they want. They want to be able to buy and dress their kids and feed themselves, and maybe have that vehicle, and they don't think about the repercussions of what they have. But part of the problem is it's a circle, because as you mentioned, if you don't support them, then they don't have a job, they can't support their family. I think the solution, and this is what I thought for a very long time, and it's going to drive the wealthy people that listen to my show crazy, but I think the world's billionaires need to step up. Nobody needs to have a couple $100 billion. Nobody needs to have 40 or 50 or $400 million. And I know people that have that much money personally. They don't need that much money. Where do you draw the line of who controls the wealth while the lower middle class and poor continue to suffer in our country? So they need to have that $20 and get t-shirts, 6 t-shirts, pardon me. They need that in order to survive. The wealthy person, maybe the answer is they have to pay $2,000 for that t-shirt because they have the money. Oh, okay, here's a card. This is what I make. This is what you make. Okay, you get 6 t-shirts for $20. You have to pay $2,000. You can afford it. Even though the t-shirts may be 50 cents, the other rest of that money is going to be put into a pot, and it's going to go to Haiti. It's going to do this. Indirectly tax them through the purchasing of stuff. Like they do it in some ways in the US, like Canada doesn't do. I wish they do it through luxury tax, which isn't enough. That's not enough. That's just, politicians trying to not piss off the wealthy and still get their support and their money to support their parties. But we need to have that disparity of wealth stop. We need to stop caring more about others. And Mr. Elon Musk, if you're listening, which I know you're not, or Jeff Bezos, or, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, open up your wallets, buddies. You guys have the ability to absolutely end world poverty. We know that. It's not even fictitious. You have enough wealth that nobody would starve on the planet anymore. Right? Why not? Just think how many people you could employ, because now we're going to have to find more ways to generate more food to keep all these people happy and healthy. So you're going to create more jobs. You're going to create more happiness, more prosperity by you opening up your wallets instead of it sitting there. Like, what a waste. So my answer is, the wealthy people of the world need to suck it up and take care of poverty, because it's not going to happen if we rely on politicians or you and I. We don't have that ability. We can affect one person at a time, but not globally on a mass basis. Billionaires can. So there's my answer.
Yeah. All right. Well, great answer. And And some billionaires do really step up and do a lot. And there are others that don't. And but right, how many houses do you need?
Well, the
I
problem
mean,
is if you're a billionaire, why do you need to be defined by being a billionaire? Keep 10 million and give the rest away.
mhm,
Right?
right, right.
I read stories because I read the Finance and Business News. That's the only real media I follow, besides the odd sports team. I'll be honest. I like hockey, but bottom line, why do you need to have all that? You look like an Elon Musk that couch surfs around. If you read up on him, he doesn't even have property. He stays with different friends. He's so cheap. What is he worth now? 300 or 400 billion or whatever he's worth. I know he lost some of his wealth, though. I bet you that was hard on him. Like, give me a break. Elon, keep 10 million. I'm pretty sure you'll live a good life on 10 million because you're a cheap skate to begin with, from what I've read and in conversations communicating with people that actually know him. I don't know him, never met him, and don't care if I ever do. But he could, or Jeff Bezos. Oh, look at all the people now you guys are laying off from Amazon. Right? Look at all the devastation and all the people that are going to be suffering. That again, now it goes back to that it's a circle. I need that $20 to give me 6 t-shirts. Oh, now the person in Haiti, it's all tied together. Very simple fix. I won't say the word. I was going to say bugger, but I won't say it. No kidding. You buggers out there with all this money, make a difference. Do something, right? Open up your wallets. And yes, you're right. There is some that do a little bit like a Bill Gates with his foundation. But if you look at the meat and potatoes of it, he could have done way more, and he should be doing way more. He doesn't need all that money.
We all should. But by the world standards, we're rich. I
Oh,
mean,
of
look at your
course.
house, look at where you are. So we all should. And if everybody did something, then the world would change. If everybody did something. And
Well,
certainly
they
some
don't
people
they don't
can
want
do
to
a lot
donate.
more than others.
Yeah, but
But
even if
but
you can, even if you look at the, you know, I'm trying to think of now. I can't think of the exact reading, but you look at, for myself, the Bible, where the woman gave everything she had, right?
the widow's
Because
mite.
she still had more. She still had the ability to live, and there was people that have worse. Like, I believe in donation and helping out charities and making a difference, but not just so. With myself, when I give money, I think about my own backyard, but I also think about the world's backyard. So I donate money to different charities that make a difference in different communities in Africa and different countries to make a difference. And you're right, we can make a difference. I don't have millions and millions of dollars, but I have enough where, like you said, I have a house, I got a roof over my head, just like you do. So, give, help, do something, talk about it like we're doing, communicate, educate people, make them aware that they need to step up to the plate and do different.
Mhm.
Right. So we're going to move on from that conversation because we could have the last of the podcast be all about that. So your second book, Love Is, chronicles your year-long quest to figure out the true meaning of love. What was your drive and inspiration to figure out what the meaning of love is?
Well, losing my husband really is what drove me to it. We had a great marriage. I was very happy. I loved that man a lot. He loved me. But I wanted to know that I was doing it right. There always seems to be this mystery around love. There's so many books written about love and movies made and TV shows and songs and people are singing about love all the time. But there's a mystery around it. Like, what is it really? What is it really? Because it's called so many different things, and there's so many things that are done in the name of love that are not love. And there's so many things said in the name of love that are not love. So what is love really? And in John, it says that God is love. And so love is apparently something you can be, not just something that you give, not an emotion like fear or excitement, but it's something that's living and breathing and moving and doing. So what is it? So I decided that I was going to take a year. I took a 2,000-year-old poem that I'm sure you're familiar with. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. And I decided I would take one word a month and figure out what it means. What is love that is patient? What is love that is kind? I quickly figured out that there are 14 is's and isn't of love. So doing the math, it took me a bit longer than a year, but I got it done. And every single word was different than what I thought it was going to be, first of all. But secondly, I figured out you put love is or love is not in front of anything and it changes the meaning of it. And so the things I learned rocked my world and changed my life. And I think they would change anybody's life.
Oh, of course it would. But the realization, after losing your husband, were you understanding or doing love right? Most people, again, I love your personality and your tenacity. Most people just climb into a rabbit hole, right? Feel sorry for themselves. I know people that are still, you know, decades later, still grieving the loss of a child or loss of, a loved one, significant other. And rightfully so, it stays with you forever. I'm sure you're still in some ways feeling it as well. And that journey is till the day you take your last breath. But instead of wallowing in it, you went out and researched something, then wrote a book about it to better mankind, to better humankind. Like, that's just awesome. Like, that's fantastic to take challenges and circumstances of your life and constantly elevate yourself to do better for others. That's what we all need to aspire to be. People that are listening or watching this, we need to do, just like back to the conversation about how can we end poverty. Your answer was yes, the billionaires need to help, but so do we. That's right. So if you have a lesson, somebody listening, somebody watching this, if you have a lesson, you've had a tumultuous time or a trial or tribulation that you've gone through that you believe can change the lives of others, even one, you owe it to humankind to share. And if you need to figure out how to do that, reach out to me, reach out to Kim. I'm sure she'd have a conversation with you, and maybe we can help you bring your story to the world. Your vulnerability, your genuine honesty, and your truth need to be heard. And that's how you can serve and live a very fulfilled life and not be all driven by materialism, right? So I appreciate you sharing that. That's, and one of the things that I wrote down here was why Haiti, but now it makes sense why it was done in Haiti, why it was something that would be such a harsh realization to the level of poverty that you've seen there, to what they go through, to you suffering, because it wasn't that long after you lost your husband, went through your cancer diagnosis and treatment. All of it just probably came to a head for you in Haiti. But still, instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you rose above that noise and wrote a book. Kudos to you. Thank you for doing
Well,
that.
yeah, well, thank you. I at this point in time feel like I did everyone's homework for you.
Thank you.
Not everybody has to go spend a
Thank
year
you.
in Haiti. You're welcome. Not everybody has to spend a year in Haiti to figure out love, because I figured it out. And it, it is truly life altering. Like patience, for instance, we know what patience is, right?
Yeah.
We're not honking our horn when we're stuck in traffic. We're not mad because we're ready to go. They're not ready to go. But I figured out that love that is patient, like you mentioned earlier, we should love everybody. Just love people. Just love everybody. And love that is patient would say that this moment with you right here, right now, is the most important moment of your life.
I love
What's
that.
in the past is in the past, and what's in the future is yet to come. This is the moment. So be fully present, be fully engaged with who you're with. It was so easy for me to be thinking about a meeting I had later, or who I had to take to soccer practice, or what I had to do, and think that I'm fully engaged in a conversation at the same time and giving my whole self to somebody in the moment. And I realized I am not that skilled multitasker. I don't know if anybody is, but I can't be thinking of three things at once. I have to be really focusing. And so it took me some practice, but it changed my life in the best ways because my ears opened up and I really heard what people had to say instead of assuming what they were going to say based on what I knew about them or having my rebuttal ready as soon as they stopped talking and took a breath. And so it changes the way I look at people because I have such a better understanding when you really listen, then that leads to way better understanding.
Wow. Are you sure that we aren't kindred spirits? Because I talk to people all the time about how I've had to work over the years to be present. So in this conversation of us sharing with one another, and we've only known each other for an hour and 20 minutes, like listeners, people watching, we didn't know each other prior to this moment, but there's so many commonalities and similarities. I tell people all the time, you owe it to the person you're communicating with to be present and being a great listener and not literally waiting to respond or a rebuttal, as you mentioned. To truly care about what somebody has to say takes effort, but it's a good effort. It shouldn't be a burden on your heart. It could be back to that association thing that you and I discussed. Maybe you need to change your association if it's a burden on your heart all the time. But just be just be a great listener. Be present with people. Give them the due they deserve, because if they're vulnerable and sharing with you, whether maybe they're vulnerable and sharing something good with you that they would never talk to anybody else with, just be present. And I have to work at it, and I think I will till the day I die. Sometimes I get disconnected and I'm distracted by something that, as you mentioned, a client, or I'm distracted, something's going on with one of my adult kids or my grandbabies, and I have to dial myself in and realize, okay, this is the bubble I'm in. This is Kim and I's bubble, and this is our time together because she blessed me with her time, and I need to bless her with my presence. So thank you so much for sharing that. This is so refreshing. I'm really enjoying our conversation because we are, again, a lot of commonalities and similarities. And yeah, I hope people listening to this or watching it, that you're enjoying this as much as I am. And we're going to move on. But thank you so much for that. One of the things I did, though, want to ask, do you have just a simplistic definition of what love is after all of that? Or is it so much more than simplifying it into a definition?
Yeah, no, I do. Uh, each of the words, each of those 14 words and phrases are so unique. None of them, every one of them different from the other, but there's an overlying theme, like an umbrella over the whole thing. And that is that with love, there is complete freedom. When you realize that love is all you have to do, it is so freeing. When you are not trying to fix people, because that's not your job. Your job is just to love. Your job is not to judge, condemn. There's no room for racism. There's no room for discrimination. There's no room for thinking I'm better than anyone else in any way. With love, with real love. So all you have to do is love and let people be who they believe they are created to be. I would not want a world full of me. I would drive me crazy. Like that would not be a good thing. I'm sure of it. It might sound good for a minute, but man, it'd be boring and I would drive me nuts. Having those differences, realizing that you might not agree with everybody. You don't have to. You might not want to hang out with everybody. You don't have to. You're not loving because you don't want to hang out with them. You might not like them. Your personalities might not mesh. Well, who cares? That's all right. But you let that person be who they are without condemning them or judging them in any way. Because as soon as you condemn or judge, you are elevating yourself above them. You're saying, I'm better than them because they're doing this and I'm condemning it. I'm saying it's wrong. I'm judging it. nobody is better than the other. We all have our feet on the same earth. We are all equal in this thing together. And love just hammers that home.
Yeah, it does. And especially, I think at that moment when you were talking, I was thinking about, even though I'm present with what you're saying, we still have thoughts to come in. I thought about my newest grandbaby that was born 2.5 weeks ago, and I was out of the country. I was actually in the US at a conference, at a business conference. And when I got back and I got to hold my little new grandbaby, my grandson Memphis, and I'm holding him, and that pure love that you feel, that it's not conflicted, it's not constrained, it's not convoluted, it's just that pure love. Now if we could have that pure love that we have for that infant, without judgment, as you mentioned, without elevating ourselves above them and just keeping it genuine, I can't imagine what kind of world we'd have if we could just have that pure love that I felt and still feel, obviously, for my grandbaby or all my grandkids and just the people in my life. What a blissful life that would be. Is it
Mhm.
possible? I don't know if it's possible, but we can do it, at least in our own sphere of influence. We can
Mhm.
have that genuine love and project goodness, and enough people are going to pick up on it, and they're going to be attracted to us even more, or newly attracted to our sphere of influence, and we will change people, because love is pure in its essence. We just don't know how to practice it. We
Right.
always have a hidden agenda. I think a lot of people do anyway, at least in my opinion they do, instead of it just being pure and straightforward.
But that comes from things that we've been taught, right? And so
That
we can
pattern
be
behavior.
untaught. We can be untaught the things that we were taught.
Absolutely. And yeah, 100%. We all have pattern behavior. And but it's having though, it's always back to be, in order to be untaught though, we have to have that epiphany, that realization that there's something that needs to change. We have to be willing in all aspects of our life. And that's why hopefully this conversation, this podcast will do that for even one person. We've won one person at a time. I've given up trying to affect large groups, when in essence, if one person in that group is changed, they're going to have a different thought process, and they're going to leave this circumstance. I might never know it, but they're going to affect change within their sphere of influence. And it just keeps on magnifying out that way. So thank you for sharing about that. That's well, this conversation, again, I've said it quite a few times. The listeners probably tired of hearing about it, but I'm really enjoying this. Really feel connected to you and to your mission and what you've accomplished in your life and are continuing to accomplish. Um, you know, I put down here, is true love possible and sustainable? I think yes, and you probably would agree,
I
right?
do agree. Hmm.
So, like, there's little points that I put down just to look down to remind me to stay present with you in this conversation. So, I want to see what your take is on this, especially because you've researched love so much. What is your take on when people call romance, we have that phase of love, that romantic phase, when we get together with somebody, and 6 months later, all of a sudden, something as simple as a toothpaste cap irritates, or the lid left up, or towel left on the floor, clothes not picked up. We have all these endorphins. We have all these things. I don't understand necessarily the science of it, but we have all these things that go on in our lives. And then all of a sudden, one of two things happen. Either we accept it and realize that we love that person no matter what they do that irritates us. It's an us issue, not them issue. And we both do the same, and we're in a long-term relationship. But a lot of relationships fall apart after that 6 month romance phase. What is your take on that, and why relationships fall apart and the love game just disappears?
I think there's a couple things. One is dropping a towel on the floor is not who the person is. So I'm not dropping it, I'm Kim. I'm not dropping the towel on the floor. It might be something I do, but that's not who I am. And you marry people for who they are, not the things they do. And so you have to figure out, because you both grow up in different homes, you both have learned things a different way, you both load the dishwasher a different way, whatever it is, or mix your whites with your reds, and other people keep them separated. And so meshing two lives of behavior is what you're doing. You already know that that's a person that you love. Otherwise, you wouldn't say I do. And so then it's figuring out how to mesh the behavior so that you're both happy, so you don't drive each other crazy. Because of course you're going to. That's normal. That's normal in a relationship, that things are happening different because you're raised differently. Your life experience is different. And so, but those don't define you. It's just things that you do. Those things can change. And the other thing is, one of the myths about love, we're told that love is a two-way street. And love is not a two-way street. Love is a one-way street. You give love, period. If I give you money and you give me a pair of jeans, that's a transaction. If I give you love to get love in return, that's a transaction. And love is not a transaction. Love is period. You don't love to get anything back. That's not why you love. You love, period. Now, love is such that likely it's going to be returned because it's infectious, and people want to love in their lives. So chances are really good. You give love, you're going to get love back. But if you don't, you don't. Don't do it. Don't love to get it in return. Kind, love is kind is a great example of that. We do kind things, we say kind things, we show kindness, we talked about this before the show started. Somebody does something kind for you, and then expect something in return, right? Like, you hear people say, oh my gosh, they didn't even say thank you, or I brought them food when they were sick, and I'm sick now, so where are they? And there's this indebtedness that happens. Well, that's not love. Love isn't ever in debt. Love doesn't work that way. When you are kind to get something in return, that's not love. Love that is kind does kind things, period. In fact, it can be counterintuitive in a way that you do this kind thing. Like, you want to do something nice for somebody, and you just want to do it. And then you get something back and you're like, man, I just wanted to do that for them. Like, they don't have to give me anything back. They don't have to feel like now they have to have me over for dinner. I just wanted to have them over for dinner. Like, let people show love that is kind to you. Accept the kindness while you're also giving the love that is kind.
Wow. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the different people I have in my life, and how their way that they show love is completely different than mine. And I've had people say to me, well, one of your friends of 30 years doesn't communicate the way that we think he should. And I said, okay, that's who he is. I've known that for 30 years. And I'm the one that has to reach out to him. The odd time, like I'm talking maybe not even a dozen times in 30 years, he reaches out first. But his kindness and his love for my family and myself is undeniable, what he does and the little things that he does. But all I have to do is be that person that puts the energy and love into him by reaching out and saying, hey, or texting him, hey, you want to come over for a meal? You want to come hang out? And then when something needs to be done, guess who's the first person that's volunteering? Hey, what's going on? I'll ask, oh, we got this. Oh, I can help on Saturday. I can do this. I can do that. But most people will judge him because they think it should be a two-way street. And you brought it up. It's not a two-way street, right? It's a one-way street. I'm giving him love. If I get something back, great. And in our relationship of 30 years, he's my best person and one of my best people in my life as a friend, as a confidant. If I give him me without expectations, I always get back, and people don't get that, right? They're always well, why is he doing this? And this is the way it should be. It's a two-way street. No, it's not. And you put that so eloquently. I really appreciate that. Love is a one-way street, right? I like the jeans transaction too, right? I like the analogy. Um, One of the things that I never put down, but I just thought about it because we were talking about love. What's your take? And I'm going to tell you up front, though, I've read it twice and listened to it 3 times. I love the 5 love languages, and it's not necessarily because of the transaction of a relationship with a significant other. I believe that we all have love languages, and I've used that book in the last 20 years to build bonds, better bonds with my kids and other relationships. Obviously, it's not the de facto standard, but have you read the book yourself? The
Oh, I
5 love
sure have.
languages?
Dr. Gary Chapman. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's,
What's your thoughts?
I think he's right on. I mean, we are all different. We all are wired differently. And with the 5 love languages, it's about you giving, right? When
One-way
you
street. Yeah.
when you understand what somebody's love language is, then you approach them differently.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Oh, yeah.
if it's acts of service, then you want to help them. You want to do those things for them. And you're showing love that way. So to understand people better, of course. I mean, how great. And yeah, the 5 love languages have helped so many people through the years, and I have
Oh,
great respect for it.
it's helped me tremendously. I haven't delved into it. Usually every few years, I haven't read it. Last time I listened to it, part of me, because I've become an Audible fan. I do so much reading already that I prefer to listen as opposed to read. Sometimes I can do both, like listen and have a book. Still prefer to listen. And 2018 was probably the last time. Would have been fall of 2018, but totally impacted me when I first was introduced to the 5 love language. It was by somebody that is very crisp and very, you know, blunt about life, and I start to see changes. And he gave me the first few books in my personal journey back in the early '90s. Think and Grow Rich, stuff like that. But one of them was the 5 love languages, and it totally impacted my life so much so that a few weddings I went to over the years after that, I give that book as a present. All
Yeah,
right.
it's a great
To-
gift. Yeah.
yeah. So thank you for your insight on that. I thought you would be somebody that would appreciate that because it is a one way. It's the other person doesn't even have to know that you've read the book, and you can impact your relationship. And that's a one-way street.
Mhm.
There's no transaction, there's no nothing. It's just you wanting to connect. And my love languages, I won't get into them, but my kids and I talk about it, and they do, as they age, give me what I need. Right? They don't always
Mhm.
remember, but sometimes one of them will go, well, dad likes this. Right?
Right.
But so this is the last question I have for you, Kim. If you had to give our listeners one last closing message, what would you tell them in regards to giving a heck and never giving up?
I would say that something that you touched on earlier, sometimes when people go through things, it's easy to stay in that moment. It's easy to stay down and kind of wallow in it. And for a couple different reasons, I think one is if you lose somebody and then you laugh, or you enjoy life again, that you sometimes feel like you're disrespecting them. But I think if you look at it a whole different way and realize that if you stay stuck, if you're not out there contributing to other people's lives and pouring into other people, then that's when you're disrespecting, dishonoring the person that you lost. There's nobody, I can't imagine that there's anybody that has passed away that has thought, man, when I die, I hope my wife just sits around and mopes. I hope she has no more happiness in her life, that I was the only thing that brought her happiness. Or we have a child that dies and the child feels the same way. And it is painful to lose somebody. There's no doubt about it. We have to cry until we laugh. And there will be a date that comes and you'll cry again. And for years, you'll remember that person. And there's times that you'll be sad and need to cry. So do it. So cry. That's fine. But realize that life should still be lived. And if you are not living it, then you're robbing other people of you, of the gift that is you. You know, artwork, you think of like the Mona Lisa and how much money, I have no idea. I don't know what that would go for at auction if it was ever auctioned, but millions of dollars, right? Because it's one of a kind. And so are you. There is nobody like you, exactly like you. Nobody ever will be exactly like you. You are one of a kind. Can you imagine the value of you, of your one of a kindness? Like, realize your value and then share your value with the world. Share it. Share it with the people around you. Share it with your neighbors. Share it with your world, whatever that looks like. But get out there and share it. Love people.
Great ending message. I like that. Don't dishonor those you have lost, right? And I know myself, it was really defining point in my life when in 2017 I lost my granddaughter, and it took me a long time to get out of that funk. And I think about her now, I talk about her within reason, because some people it's really a sensitive subject, but by hiding and not living life, I'm dishonoring her memory in the fact that I'm not living continuing to live life. I'm not living in the fact that she's gone and stuck and wallowing in it. But you're right. Once in a while I do have that tender moment where things get to me, and I've been interviewed on podcasts and they'll ask me and I break down and I cry because it is sad. She didn't, you know, don't want to say she didn't deserve what happened to her, because what happened to her shaped so many other people's lives. How do I know that God didn't want that to happen for her to touch people's lives, to elevate us all in a different direction? Obviously, nobody wants a child to pass away. Nobody wants anybody to pass away. But again, like you said, they're not on their deathbed going, you know, live a terrible life after this. I want you to be in misery and never smile again and never love again. And if and for those of you that have experienced that, because sadly I do know people have had people on their deathbed be very negative, you know, you don't have to live a life like that. You're worthy. You have greatness within you. You have a right to shine above all in life. And like Kim said, share with your neighbors, share with this person, share with the world your greatness, because everybody has greatness. And if you have a hard time figuring out what your greatness is, check your associations, what you're listening, what you're watching, who you're communicating with. And you know what? Reach out to me. I'll have a conversation with you. No problem, to help you find out the seeds of greatness within you so that you can, continue to climb in life and quit being camped, because I give a heck and I want you to give a heck as well. And I believe Kim, I don't even believe, I know Kim is a person that wants you to give a heck about your life. So anything else you'd like to share as one last closing thing, Kim?
I think everything you said, my gosh, I think we were separated at birth. I think somehow something happened. I'm not sure what, maybe you're my twin and neither one of our parents wanted two kids at the same time or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, people need to listen to you. You have great wisdom, and it is wonderful to be with somebody who just has wisdom and shares it.
Well, thank you. And right back at you. Like, I appreciate your thoughtfulness, your, sharing everything that you've shared. It's been an amazing hour and whatever it's been, 20 minutes or, that we've been recording, about an hour and 40 that we've been, getting to know one another. And yeah, maybe we were separated at birth. Maybe, our parents decided you should be in the US, I should be in Canada, because each country needs somebody like us. Who knows? I don't know. Right. but I appreciate this, and I plan on staying in touch with you. And um, actually, I see your book over your shoulder there. I look forward to purchasing that book because, yes, thank you. Show it. Love is. That's a nice cover too, right? I like that. So, um, yeah, I look forward to, listeners, check it out. I'll make sure it's in the show notes. One of the things I end up with now is, what's the best way for people to reach you, Kim?
Well, my last name is ridiculous because there are way too many letters, but I am literally the only Kim Sorrelle in the world spelled my way. But there are 2 R's, 2 E's, 2 L's for whatever reason. So Kim Sorrelle, SORRELLE.com. You can also get to my website by typing in loveis.info, but I'm very easy to find. I'm on all the social platforms. I I truly love people. I love to meet new people. I love to be in contact with people. Anybody can reach out. This my year of living love has just uh transformed my life and is transforming other lives, which is so wonderful. But people are buying the book for all their adult children and then doing a Zoom once a month, reading a chapter and then doing a Zoom and talking about it. And companies are buying for their staff and doing the same thing, having once a month a meeting about a chapter. And small groups, churches, whoever. It's just been amazing. And I think that we need to have a love revolution. So contact me and anytime, anywhere, any question, need somebody to come speak, whatever it is, I'm happy to be there.
Right on. I was even before you said that, people buying it for their families. I honestly swear to you, was thinking, you know what? I got 5 kids, 4 daughters. I got my sisters. I got my nieces, my nephew. I think some people need to get this book for Christmas. What a great present. Right. So,
Gift
I'm
of
gonna,
love.
yeah, absolutely. That's, have you put your book on Audible yet? Have you decided to read it?
It comes out on Audible. I wish that it was me that was reading it, but actually, the publisher worked with a company, they hired somebody else. But it comes out on Audible December 8th, I think.
Perfect. That's what I'll
Yeah.
buy then, because I literally get so many books given to me. Go to different events, or I'll buy a book to support my friends. And I've got a stack of them. In my office, there's a bookshelf full of books I haven't gotten to. If it's on Audible, I've already listened to it. It's almost gonna guaranteed happen. So I'm glad to hear it's coming out on Audible. Again, listeners, people watching, December 8th, for those Audible fans like myself. Um, 2 of my daughters will be happy too, because they're Audible fans. They listen to books. The other ones like to crack the spine and smell the book, and I've never been a book smeller, so I'll stick to the Audible. But thank you so much for this opportunity to communicate with you, to have a great conversation and have you share your experiences and life, and how you have and how you are continuing to still elevate and help people out. And you've made a difference and impact in my life in a very short period of time, and you will continue to, especially after I listen to your book. And I'm going to be, I might reach out to you and we might have to have an episode just about the book, because I think, even though I haven't listened to it yet, it's going to impact me big time, tenfold, especially with the fact that I'm a big 5 love languages fan. So thanks so much again, Kim, for coming on.
Thank
Appreciate
you
you.
so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. So thanks so much for being on Give a Heck, Kim. I appreciate your time and sharing some of your experiences so that others too can learn it is never too late to give a heck.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.